afternoon or evening where you are. I had a lady comment on one of my Facebook posts the other day about how she always has all of her ideas late at night. And I suddenly thought, oh, actually, the little notebooks that I've made would suit this purpose. So this little box here, it's one of those pretend leather covered boxes I have at the side of my bed. Now I've cleared out all the rubbish out of it. It doesn't look like this when it's at the side of my bed. It has other things in here as well, but it suits the purpose. So I've got in here some scrappy little notebooks, pen and pencil, and I've got my friction pen in here so that if I make a mistake as I'm jotting stuff down, then I can rub it out, and a pair of scissors. Because you know what it's like when you sit in bed and you're watching your YouTube videos before you go to sleep and you go, oh, love that colour combination of those oxide pads. I'm going to remember that, and I'm going to get up in the morning and I'm going to check to see if I've got those colours, and if I haven't, I'm going to go and purchase them, and I'm going to remember which video it was that I watched. And you get up next morning and you're like, what the heck were them two colours that I saw last night? Can't remember, you see. Can't remember. The joys of getting older. So I've got my little scrappy notebook pads to write some ideas in, to write my shopping lists in. So even like I can go to bed and go like, oh, I must remember I need to order some more kitchen rolls. So you can make as many of these books as you want, but it's a great way of using up all those scraps. This one, I've just used up all my scraps and written all sorts of little ideas in there. And I've just held it together with that little bulldog clip. So, I'm going to show you something now. In a load of packaging that I received recently, there was a ton of this paper, and it's got this real weird edging on it. And it came all bunched up like this, but in great big long strips. So you know how we keep all our Amazon papers, because they tend to include a lot. There's no reason why you can't use those, but I had a ton of this. I thought, what the hell am I going to do with this, because I'm loathed to throw it away. So I actually opened it up. So I unscrunched and noticed that there were perforations along there. So it was perforated into strips, but it had got this horrible stuff at the end. But I thought I could still use this section here, and then I'm only throwing away that unless I decide to keep it, which, you know, there does come a point where you can't keep everything. As you can see, look, it's got this perforation. Now you've got to be careful, because where they've punched these silly holes in, it can end up ripping. So, and it doesn't matter if I don't get all the perforation right, because these are just little mini notebooks for me to use. So they're only going to be for me to see. And then there's another bit down here, so we'll tear that bit off. And then I either used a pair of scissors to trim off those excess bits there where it's all tatty and horrible, or I used my rule and it could be like one of these serrated edged rules, which was from We Are Memory Keepers. So this is the tear guide one, or you could just use an ordinary rule. And so I've got myself a page from my notebook, so I could tear that bit off. But as I say, it's just a little notebook for me, so it doesn't matter that it's all tattered and torn. It doesn't matter that the paper's all crinkled. And then I folded them all in half. So what I then did was I sorted them out into sizes, so they were all of a similar size, and then I grouped them together to make up signatures. So from those pages I made all of these signatures here, and I believe that there's 13 in total. Now this would have been paper that I would have normally thrown away, But I've managed to make myself some real lovely little scrappy notebooks that I can put together and just have at the side of my bed, and as I come up with an idea or I see an idea that I like, then I can just jot it down in this book. If it's a shopping list, I can write my shopping list on there, tear the page out, and then, you know, I'm not wasting my nice paper. Now I need to put a cover with these, so I'm going to go on to that bit next. So I've picked out my wallets that have got all my scrap pieces of card in. So I've got some craft, I've got some file folders, I've got some black card, I could pick out my white card as well. So I'm going to go through these and sort out some big enough pieces of card that will act as my covers. And then I've also got my scrap decorative papers, so I'm going to choose some papers out of here to also add to the covers. I've sorted through my papers because I didn't think you needed to see me doing that, did you? So these were out of my scrap papers. So I want a piece that is going to go on the front cover just to give it that little bit of extra support, and again another piece that's going to go over the spine, again to just give it that little bit of extra support. So I've chosen this one, so this will be on the front cover and this will be for the spine.
These are some papers that I've cut out, don't know why, and I've got this piece of wallpaper, so I thought that could act as the spine and those could go on the front. I've chosen these because I thought that could go on the front and that could be the spine. And then I've got these, so that will go on the front and that will go on the spine. And I've chosen these, so on the front and on the spine. And these, so on the front and on the spine.
Okay, so you kind of get a little bit of an idea now. Now the other thing that I've sorted out is I've got this half a piece of file folder, so I'm going to use that as one of my covers, and then I'm going to fold it in half because I've already checked that it's the right width, and just finger press and then just slot that signature inside, and I can see that it's too wide for that signature where it ends. So again, I'm just going to chop it off so that it's fractionally bigger. Again, not being precious about it at all. Now then, the back has got this little dip in it where this the tab was of the file folder. I'm not worried about that. Not worried about that at all, because this is just going to sit at the side of my bed, and then I've got myself a little book. Of course, you can add all sorts of other papers to it. You could add envelopes to it, that you could store maybe a little post-it notepad in that you could pull out and write on. You could add graph paper. Now I'm going to be adding some graph paper to mine because when I come to making notes of ideas, I sometimes need to draw the shapes out that I want to cut and how I'm going to cut them and stuff, and so I need graph paper to just to draw on, because it'll be easier, especially when I'm laid in bed. So I'm going to stick pieces of graph paper on as little flaps, but you'll see that in a bit. So that's going to be my cover, and then I'm going to get my papers. I'm going to use this one, I think, and I am going to get my paper trimmer out to just trim this down to size. So let's have a look at it height wise. Yeah, so height wise this is perfect. So if I cut across there, and again you can do inking up on it if you wish, you could do sewing on it. It depends how much time and effort you want to put into making this little journal, but as I say, because it's going at the side of my bed, I'm not worried about it, but I still want it to look pretty. So let's glue that in place. And this will also help to give the cover a little bit of extra support, because we've now got 2 thicknesses of card on there. So I want to make sure that it's going to wrap from the front across the spine bit and across to the back. So I probably want 1.5 to 2 inches. Obviously had some great idea with that. Let's do it to 2 inches. And I'm just going to fold it. Again, doesn't have to be perfectly in half, as you can see here, look. I'm not folding it perfectly. Let's cut the height and to go up to about there. Where to put my scissors? You put them away, Carol, that's what you did. Just going to cut it a little bit longer because I can trim off the excess. Put my glue on. And stick it on. Now this you could actually glue in place once you've stitched your signature in place if you wanted to. So then it's covering over your stitches. I'm just going to fold that to make sure I've got it in the right place. And then trim off that bit of excess. Now the other thing that I've got is when I've been sewing signatures previously, I've cut my thread too long. And so I've got all these leftover pieces that, again, I'm not going to throw away. Might as well use them up in this. And I'm just going to line this up now. So I'm going to open it up at the middle. Zip my signature in there. And I'm just going to poke 2 holes. I'm going to mind my fingers on this side. There. One down there. And one about there. This is a waxed linen thread, but you could use embroidery thread on this as well. So your DMCs or your anchor embroidery threads, and you'd use all 6 strands. I've lost the centre now. Where's my centre gone? There we go. Poke it through the cover, leave a little bit of a tail, poke it through the other side of the cover, and back through the signature. And normally I'd clip all these together. I don't know why I've not done it this time, but anyway, there we go. I'll show you on the next one. There we go, back through to the centre. Pull those in, knot them, and then I'm going to form a loop. Oh, sorry, am I in shot? I'm going to form a loop and then go through that knot twice. Trim off the excess. And there we go. For this next one, I've just got this sheet of craft card, and I was trying out some new embossing powder, and that's how it came out, and it didn't work very well. So I've just got this scrappy piece of craft card, which is quite flimsy. But with this signature, when I fold this in half, it's a little bit too short for the pages, so there's a bit of an overhang. Now I can either cut those off, or I can fold those pages back on themselves like that, so that I'm not getting rid of any excess, and then when I open it up I've got a bigger area to write on. So let me fold this in half. And then with these, find the centre, and these I'm just going to clip in place. So this is what I normally do, is I clip them, and I can see from the height of my pages that this card is too long. So I've got a little bit of a border at the top, I've got all this excess at the bottom, but I can trim that off in a bit. So now they're all clipped together. Now again, I'm going to just poke my holes. And it's a great way of practicing. If you're a bit frightened of stitching signatures in place, it's a great way of practicing how to do it. Again, thread my needle up with some leftover wax thread. And because they're now clipped in place, it makes it easier to find all the holes. So through that signature and through to the front cover. And through the front cover, through the signature. Again, pulling that thread so that it's nice and firm and not form a loop, and pop your needle through that loop twice. So there's once, there's a second time. And clip off the excess. So this time I'm going to put a cover on, and then I'm going to put the spine bit on top of the stitching. So I like that one on there, and it's too big, so I need to trim that down. So that can now sit on there. You could collage a load of your papers, scrap bits of paper on the covers. That would be another idea of using up some scraps. And I'm not bothering to decorate the back cover up, because I can use that piece on another cover. Okay, and I want to cut this down to size. I want about a 2-inch wide. Fold it in half. Again, I could use my score pal to do this. some glue on there. And then sit that likey so. And then do this side. Wrap that round. Trim that bit of excess off. And then, as I say, with these pages that are overhanging the edge, I can either cut them off or fold them over. And that's another one done. So this one I've covered over the stitching, and this one I stitched through the spine. So there's two little scrappy notebooks. Now I am going to do a little bit of decoration on them, so I'll show you that bit next. These were some of the scraps that I chopped off my file folder, so I'm going to use those up so that nothing's going to waste. And I've got a date stamp here, and I've set it to May 2022. Because this has got the reddy colour in the paper, I'm going to use my archival ink Plum so that it's all kind of looking matchy and nice. And I'm just going to date. And it doesn't matter if it goes wrong because it's just a scrap piece. Yeah, do it there. There we go. 1st of March 2022. And then I can just chop that down because I stamped it at the wrong angle. But because it's a scrap piece, I can just cut it at the right angle. And that end. Again, I could ink this up if I wanted to. Not going to. Add some glue on that. And on this spine area here, I'm just going to put it up in the top left hand corner. So this will be my little notebook that I will start in March. And I could do one for each month, or I could use this one up and then date stamp the next one when I start the next one. And then the other thing that I want to attach is I want to do a little label on the front. So I've got my little pouch out with some of my label pieces. So I've got this one that has all these that look like they've got paper clips and little things added to them. And then at the back I've got these that look like vintage papers. So I could, let's just have a look. Could add that one on there, or maybe that one on there might look better. And then have a look through these little ones. Oh, that one actually. And then peel off this backing. Let's just see if it'll come off with my nails or whether I'm going to have to use my pokey tool. Oh, it's coming off. There we go. Not going to need that. Stick that on there. And that was the whole point of this video, was to show you that you don't have to produce something that's perfect every time. My last little idea for these notebooks is that if you want to split them into segments, there's no reason why you can't. Just put some tabs on the end. So on this front part of this book, I'm going to be adding some craft shopping, and then on this back section, so from the centre of the signature, I'm going to put some ideas in here. And as I said before, sometimes I like to draw stuff out, so I've got myself some graph paper and I've ripped it up, and I'm just going to fold it. Let's have a look how big I need to do. So about there. And then fold that bit back on itself. And then on one of the pages, I've got some tan coloured or skin coloured micropore, which I've talked about many times before. And I'm just going to stick it down in there with this on that page. Flip it over and stick it on that side as well, so that it forms a hinge. And then I've got myself some graph paper in there to draw any ideas on. And we'll do a couple of smaller pieces as well. So there we go, there's 2 done and dusted. I'm going to go off and go and make some more, but please give me a thumbs up, leave a comment, subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. That would help me out loads. Thank you very much. But I hope most of all that it's inspired you to see you don't have to be, perfect. You don't have to produce something that's perfect. You can just throw some stuff together and you can still end up with something that looks quite nice. And as I said before, they're a great way of practicing and using up all these scraps as well. So I hope that you'll go off and make half a dozen of your own. Okay, thanks for joining me again. There might be some pictures afterwards, so look out for those, and I'll see you all again really soon. Bye for now. Bye.